we got to have a conversation right now about some of those freshmen that you should know about. Okay, we gave you a list, I believe it was early March, so right around a month ago. Let's add to that list a little bit right now. A lot of these cats are already on campus, early enrollees, gonna make a splash come fall. One of the guys we got to talk about, 4-star linebacker, already enrolled at Tennessee, Arion Carter. Now, Arion Carter had an interesting recruitment. He was a guy that sort of caught fire at the end of his recruitment. Like, typically a lot of these offers are out by, your junior year, and you kind of go through the camp circuit heading into your senior year. He got his 3-game highlight tape out on Huddle and just blew up. Like, originally he was committed to Memphis, I believe, as a running back. Came down to it on decision day, and it was between like Bama and Tennessee, ends up going with the Vols. There is really good buzz around him right now in Knoxville. He's someone that I want you to keep an eye on in terms of how he trends. Ridiculously athletic. He's got a ton of what you just can't coach. Like really fluid movements. That they're excited about the plays he's made already in practice. Go get the intel over there on VolQuest or Tennessee on 3 site. They talk a lot about what he's done in practice. One play he's made is he made an interception in one of his first spring practices. So he's making plays. The way that it sounds right now is he's going to play his freshman year as a rotational guy. But I'm telling you, the way that he trends is going to be very interesting to watch. With all of his God-given gifts, it would not surprise me in the slightest if he ends up playing significant time towards the end of Tennessee's season. That's the side of the ball, too, for Tennessee that we talk about a lot. Hey, the offense we know is going to be good. We know they're going to have guys that can make plays in Josh Heupel's offense. But if they can get it right on the defensive side, if they can be a force on that side of the football in the SEC, they're going to be a very complete team. Going to be a team we got to talk about with real college football playoff considerations. So that's not to overblow the significance of an Arion Carter, but I'm just saying, a very big-time gift for Josh Heupel in the 2023 cycle, and a guy that will make an impact one way or another at linebacker for the Vols in the fall. Another guy we got to talk about, Cedric Baxter, running back at Texas. Now, that running back room, a little bit dinged up right now during the spring. Bijan Robinson, he's gone to the league. Roschon Johnson, gone to the league. Told you about Savion Red and the impact he's making already, but Cedric Baxter is an absolute man-child. Another early enrollee. He's a 5-star kid, number 1 running back in the 2023 class. Okay, so the dude can tote the rock. Thing that's encouraging to me, he is already adjusting well to the collegiate ranks. Like a lot of these kids, you get to college and you're supposed to still be a senior, you're supposed to be going to prom, and it takes a while to kind of figure out what college life is like. I got to go to class, and I also have to go to practice, and I got to balance what being a big-time college football player is like, and also I got to make sure I'm in my business class. Cedric Baxter, while the sample size is small, 4.0 GPA, practicing the right way, carrying himself like a pro. Also, one thing we love about him, Charles Power, knocked his evaluation out of the park. It sounds like he has really fluid movements when it comes to running routes, very natural pass catcher. What do we say? Earlier in this show, earlier in the live show, they're going to ask that of the running back at Texas. How many times do we see Bijan Robinson split out in the slot and go run a post route? I'm not saying they're going to ask that every single game, but I'm saying having that in the arsenal at Texas, it's crucial to the offense, okay? Having depth at the running back position as well is just something you need in college football. Cedric Baxter, a guy that I fully expect to contribute, very physically developed, around 6'1", 210 pounds. Like I said, absolute man-child. He's going to play on the 40 acres this year. Ain't no red shirt in him, all right? Once it really clicks with him, with the playbook and being able to read zone schemes at the collegiate level and adjusting to the speed of the game, it's going to be a problem, okay? It's going to be a problem on the 40 acres, I guarantee it. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following on Twitter and Instagram at Judy Piquel. Appreciate y'all. Now, Peyton Bowen. I told you about Adepoju Adeboare last time at Oklahoma. Peyton Bowen, another freshman, 5-star kid. He's a safety at Oklahoma. He's just going to be someone who brings too much to the table to leave off the field. Like he's one of those guys that Charles Power, director of scouting and rankings here, said he might have been one of the best kick returners in the class. He played against really good competition in Texas at Denton Guyer. He's a guy that will make your football team better. It doesn't matter how he does it. Right? Like whether he's returning kicks, whether he's playing safety, the opportunity cost of not playing Peyton Bowen is a net negative. right? Like he's a guy that just has to be playing. Already enrolled, like I said, so he's able to kind of learn the defense. Now, he's a guy that I fully believe once he learns that defense, once he's comfortable schematically, that's when the instincts take over, man. That's when the autopilot kicks in, and Peyton Bowen, with the special qualities he has instinctually, then they get to cut loose. Then they get to show you why he was a 5-star. Okay, so remember, the defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma a season ago was not good enough. Was not good enough. Was not up to par, not up to the standards that Brent Venables has in Norman. So what does that mean? It means you got to mesh schematically, but it also means you need to take a look at your personnel. You need to get better personnel. Peyton Bowen, a part of that better personnel they're adding to that locker room at Oklahoma. So he's a guy that I fully expect, whether it's early in the year, whether it's late in the year, he will be a name that you need to know. 100% believe that. Andy Jean, 6'1", 195-pound, 4-star wide receiver out of Florida. Pay attention to frequency on the message boards and the different websites that you follow when it comes to spring practice. Over at Gators Online, the frequency that Andy Jean gets mentioned is notable. Because all these guys that are early enrollees, all these guys that have a lot of stars next to their name, they're good enough to straight up just go out and have one good practice or make one good play that gets caught on tape and it gets tweeted out and it becomes a thing, right? Like, they're all good enough to have a moment. But when your name gets brought up practice after practice, hey, Andy Jean made another play today. Hey, Andy Jean looked good in 11 on 11. Hey, Andy Jean did this during practice. That's a trend, okay? You start stacking days. And when you stack days, you typically put yourself in contention for some very real playing time. Nick De La Torre over there at Gators Online, he thinks Andy Jean's a young Van Jefferson. Okay, so that's very, very high praise for him. And think about what this means at Florida if Andy Jean is a player for you, if he is able to be a weapon on the outside. How often have we talked about what they have in that running back room with Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson? If they have something to offset that in the pass game and keep defenses off balance, that would be enormous. That would allow them to fight different styles offensively. Okay, and I'm looking at this wide receiver room for Florida too. There's no real locked-in wide receiver depth chart outside of Ricky Pearsall. People in that building at Florida said they would not be surprised in the slightest if Andy Jean ends up winning a starting job. So again, frequency, how often you're hearing about Andy Jean, it means something. Having a really good spring camp right now for Florida. Expect that to carry over into the fall. How much? We'll keep an eye on, but Andy Jean, a guy that is stacking good days in Gainesville. Another wide receiver we got to talk about, Carnell Tate at Ohio State. 33-inch arms, really great catch radius, top 10 wide receiver in the 2023 cycle. A lot of good wide receivers at Ohio State, right? Carnell Tate is shining right now. And after the first scrimmage in Columbus, already lost his black stripe on his helmet. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with what a black stripe is, allow me to illuminate you. The black stripe is on the Ohio State Buckeye helmet, covering up the scarlet stripe. And once you get that stripe ripped off, the black stripe that is, that's when you officially become a member of the team, more or less, right? Like that's when you're kind of accepted into the brotherhood that is Ohio State football. And how you get your black stripe ripped off, there's a lot of different verbiage around it, commitment to the team, work ethic, like doing things the right way. I would also say unofficially, you got to ball. Like you got to make some plays and you got to be a guy between the white lines. Carnell Tate lost his black stripe on March 26th. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't lose his black stripe until early April when he was a freshman. I'm not saying Carnell Tate's Marvin Harrison Jr. now, okay? Marvin Harrison Jr. is a one of one. But to have such positive reviews about Carnell Tate this early on, another early enrollee, that's a good sign for the Buckeyes. And to have yet another weapon that can, again, at worst, at depth, at best, contribute for you on the field, that's a scary sight. It's a scary sight for the rest of the Big Ten, and whoever ends up playing quarterback for Ohio State will be better because of what Carnell Tate brings to the table. I don't expect Carnell Tate to be a guy that gets 100 catches or, lights up the stat sheet because of all the other ballers that are in that room. But situationally, you want to double Marvin Harrison Jr.? You want to put a safety over Emeka Egbuka? Carnell Tate gets open, man. I'm just saying. Another guy you have to worry about whenever you try to match up with Ohio State defensively. So Arion Carter, linebacker at Tennessee, Cedric Baxter, a running back in the mix at Texas, Peyton Bowen, special player at safety, could also return kicks. He's going to help Oklahoma this season. I promise you. Andy Jean, receiver at Florida, continuing to stack good days. Carnell Tate already lost his black stripe. These young ballers will be names that everybody knows in the fall. We're talking about it right now. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.